could see her in fine form on his way to setting the fastest time in the class. Well, played host to the Castrol Baberspan 500, the first round of the 1990 South African Off-Road Championship last weekend. Klaus Degener and Hilton Beattie led the four-wheelers away in their Duckham's Canal. They were followed by the always competitive Derek Pinoy and Jack Purchase in their Class 8 Honeyloop Spider. Third away and favourites to take the overall victory were Philip Malone and Springbok navigator Richard Leek in the Toyota dealer team Hilux. Last year's winners, Api Reyneke and Lucas Dreyer, were well in contention in their immaculate BP Nissan Safari, and they were soon to challenge the Toyota for the overall and Class 6 lead. Father and son crew, Glenn and Steve Parker, were the overnight leaders in Class 7, a position they were to hold almost to the finish. Further back, a tremendous dice developed between Niels Eriksson in his Space Ram Beetle, Class 9 leader Harry Roscoe in his Orco, and Mervyn Woods from PE in his venerable Sandmaster. Woods led a 10-team contingent of Eastern Cape competitors in the event, and they were soon to show their worth. Meanwhile, Philip Malone and Richard Leek used every bit of road holding and the 400 horsepower of their turbocharged Toyota Hilux to take the lead by the halfway mark at Setlagoli, which again proved a popular spectator point. Mervyn Woods was impressive in the ex-Des Tarberton-owned Sandmaster, and he reached the Setlagoli River crossing second overall and the leader in Class 9. He had class rival Jack Spencer, now with 2.4-litre VW power in his Sandmaster, close on his heels, followed by Harry Roscoe, also in Class 9 with his Orco. Next followed the hard-charging Parker father and son combination, still leading Class 7. Reyneke and Dreyer found some of the rough terrain difficult to traverse in their big Nissan. They were forced to wave a determined Bucks Carolyn and Kenny Skolthammer through in the Natal Earthworks Raceco. Also following closely were Niels Eriksson in his Beetle and Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak in their Class 8 Special. Hanging on grimly were Klaus Degener and Hilton Beattie in the Duckham's Chinath. Degener was suffering from food poisoning, and 3 punctures did not help their cause. Derek Pinoy and Jack Purchase were also making up time and places after a slow roll in their Honeyloop Spider, which delayed them considerably. They reached the river crossing just ahead of Class 5 leaders Alfred van Vieren and Piet Pelser in their Toyota, the Roger Westmeyer Orco, and Class 2 leaders Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner in their VW Special. Close on their heels were Dion Joubert and Chris Shin in their Class 8 Centaur, and Richard Carolyn, brother of Bucks, in his lubrication equipment Raceco. Jack Spencer, driving solo for the first time in a long while, went well over the notoriously steep and rocky step section. He was followed by Andre Kok and Dani van der Merwe in their Beefmaster Toyota, which was to finish second in Class 6, and a consistently driven Class 4 Isuzu of Dave and Greg Gurney. Ashley Thorne and Pepe Marte from Lesotho were well placed in their Chinath after a slow start and eventually finished second in Class 8 and third overall. Meanwhile, the Class 2 Beetle of Abdul Variawa and Hanif Hussein was heading for a well-earned second in Class 2, followed by the Class 7 winning Beetle of Charlie Higgs and Kobie van der Merwe, which showed great form over the rough route. With the Malone Leek Toyota not stopping at the refuel point, tension ran high as second-place Reyneke and Dreyer pulled in for a wheel change and some refreshments. They were shortly followed by determined Carolyn and Skoltheimer, who needed a tyre change, and Mervyn Woods, whose enthusiastic Eastern Cape crew swarmed over his Sandmaster. Degener and Beattie limped in with yet another flat wheel. With a tyre bolted to the rim, they could ride on the deflated tyre but still lost time. They had to settle for fourth place in Class 8. While the crew set about the wheel change, an exhausted Degener looked on. And former motorcycle racer Hilton Beattie commented about navigating.
You bounce around in there so much to try and read that route schedule. I've got to have about 8 eyes. I can hardly see out my eyes now. Anyway.
Milan and Leek were in the home stretch now and sensed victory, followed by a still hard-charging Carolyn and Skoltheimer in the raceco. Mervyn Woods completed a great performance by eventually finishing 4th overall and first in Class 9 in the Sandmaster. Reiniger and Dreyer retired with a broken transmission, while Richard Schilling and Fred Lebesque took 5th place overall in the Motor Tech Chenath, ahead of the Class 5 winning Toyota Hilux of Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser. Former off-road champions Westlau and Blankner scored a well-deserved victory in Class 2. With Piet Ritter and Willie Deploy the winners in Class 3 in their Toyota. Henry Kirstein and Dries de Klerk drove their monster 7-litre V8 Cortina bakkie to a popular win in Class 4. While Johan and Ferdi Pieterse took the honours in Class 10 in their VW and Jan van Beek and Frans Dekker in Class 1 in a Toyota Hilux. The South African Off-Road Championship places the emphasis on class rather than overall success, with champions declared in the special vehicle, commercial vehicle and production-based vehicle categories. Alfie Cox led off the motorcycle contingent on his Drivelines Kawasaki, followed by Jeremy Davies on his Greenup KTM, Errol Dalton on his Bird Paradise Kawasaki, and Patrick Andrew from Lesotho on his Winston Yamaha. Cox was in fine form and he streaked into a commanding lead. Andrews found time to wave at the cameraman while holding down a good second place on the Winston Yamaha despite brake problems. The over 250cc class leader was Errol Dalton, displaying the talent that prompted Kawasaki to sign him as Jeremy Davies' replacement. Former motocross racer Gary Peterson, riding the Truck Africa KTM, was soon in his stride and hanging on to second place in the over 250cc class. Jeremy Davies initially went well on his Greenup KTM, but an electrical problem eventually forced him out of the event. Leader Alfie Cox ran out of juice within sight of the refuel and managed to borrow a cup of fuel from the Motortech pit crew and got going again. Another rider who received assistance was the stranded Davies, who got a lift from KTM teammate Peterson, who was in a handy second place behind Cox. Lesotho star Patrick Andrews stormed into the refuel mere seconds behind Peterson. While Davies explained his problems to KTM boss Butch Hirsch, the teams feverishly refueled the KTM and the Yamaha, and Peterson leaving seconds before a determined Andrews, the scene was set for a fight to the finish. Brian Bontekoning won the 200cc class for the Bird Paradise Kawasaki team. Despite their rough route, top riders like Alfie Cox regularly exceeded speeds of 160 kilometers per hour, leaving precious little room for error. Following last year's tragedy when 2 bikers died at Baberspan, the organisers this year went to great lengths to ensure the safety of the two-wheelers. Extensive medical support along the route, backed up by the IGI Med Rescue helicopter, which was on standby throughout the event to transport injured competitors to hospital, proved invaluable. A jubilant Alfie Cox took the flag after a brilliant performance on the Driveline's Kawasaki. Kawasaki had good reason to celebrate at the end of the day with victory in the 200, 250 and over 250 classes.